Hello. Hi, Gray. How are you? How was your stream yesterday? I'm sorry I couldn't chat much there. I had it on my phone, but I couldn't have audio. Also, could you let me know if the audio sounds okay? The Higurashi a bit loud. I can fix that. Is that better? That's good? Okay, perfect. How was your stream? Hopefully you're doing well today. Good, I was just rambling the whole time. I was listening to the VOD while I was drawing. It was great. I envy your rambling abilities. I wish I could have them. I'm so bad at talking. Oh, wait, what do we have? I don't even remember. Voice went on after 2 hours. Yeah, it does that, especially if you don't have water. Oh wait, I think we have this. Let me stall for a bit. I have like it's kind of a cough drop, but it's not for coughs, it's for like sore throats. I don't have a sore throat, but I took it because I ate spicy food and usually that kind of messes with my throat. And I would like to read more than just 1 hour. Professional, yeah, we're so glad it translates well this year. Nervous the whole time. You did great. Yeah, it's also strawberries and cream flavored, so it's really yummy. But yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to like bite them, so. I thought I could finish melting it in my mouth in 2 minutes while the ad was running, but nope. Sounds good. All cough drops and lozenges should taste good. Not honey and peppermint. That's true. Some of them taste so bad. Like, I'm sorry. I would rather be sick than put that in my mouth, okay? We have this one cough syrup. It's from Korea, and it tastes... So the package says it tastes like mixed fruits and caramel? It's awful. Cherry or pain, literally. It's so bad. But the Korean one that it was like, I don't know if you remember, but like a couple months ago, when I was sick for like quite a long period of time, and I eventually was like, I need to take medicine or else I'm not gonna get better. But I had to give myself like a 10-minute pep talk just to get it into my mouth. I could not take it. It was so bad. Common colds are the worst. They really are. Tell me why there's no, like, actual cure for them. Take hours to go away. Yeah, it's bad. But alas. Luckily, I don't get sick too often. It's just when I do, it lasts forever. Because I don't like medicine. Unless it's a pill. I can take pills like they're nothing. But like cough syrup stuff? No. Okay, I have finished. Takano-san always comes along with me whenever I go to take pictures on a stroll. She might have discovered the joy of cameras, and I'm happy to gain a friend who shares the same hobby. I just opt to suffer, drink tea, literally same. Tea and rest I can do. I can also, like, drink water if I have to. But, ooh. Anything else? However, there's actually something else she's much more interested in. That would be the history of Hinamizawa. She frequently visited libraries and local archives to read through various documents and books. and when it comes to Hinamizawa, she's gained quite extensive knowledge of the local history. When she's in a good mood, she tells me about things like how Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi Village, and how the villagers there used to perform various cruel ceremonies based around the worship of Oyashiro-sama. It seems she loved tales of violence, and that actually gave her a mysterious charm. On the other hand, I don't do well with grotesque things, so I can hardly say anything in response. The stories of cruel ceremonies that she gets excited about, I don't really get them all that well. However, with the way her eyes light up when she talks, I don't mind spending time with her even if I have to hear about cruel things. You sure like looking into that stuff, don't you? Sure, it's fun. It's thrilling to unravel a dark past that's been sealed away. Don't you think so? Like the caterpillar drawing in the background, it's cute! It's really cute. Takano-san smiled in a way that almost made it sound like a dark past is something fun. But of course, it isn't. The dark history of Hinamizawa that she loves is something cruel and atrocious, like the witch hunts in the Middle Ages. Besides, they help me in researching Hinamizawa syndrome. You don't have to always look through microscopes to research things. Oh no, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm out of it, apparently. You don't have to always look through microscopes to research things. Sometimes the traditions of this village that have spent so long with the parasite can teach us things that are far more valuable. That's true. Boy, you sure are passionate about this. That's because research gives my life meaning. To step into the unknown and uncover a secret that nobody else knows. Don't you think that's wonderful? It tickles my intellectual curiosity. That's probably the greatest entertainment available to humans, who could feel joy from just thinking. The first person to work on this, Dr. Takano, must have discovered something fascinating enough to make him devote his entire life to the researching of the syndrome too. I think I'm probably the only one who could understand his feelings. I suppose it would be too difficult for you, Jiro-san, since you're not a researcher. She always seems so enthusiastic every time she talks about the late Dr. Takano, an independent researcher who was the first person to discover the existence of the syndrome. There has to be something more there than just her admiration as a researcher. Come to think of it, Dr. Takano's full name was Hifumi Takano. Takano-san's full name is Mio Takano. Not only are their last names pronounced the same, but their first names follow a similar pattern. They must be connected somehow. I don't know anything about Takano-san's personal history, but there's a good chance that her name is an alias. So it's very possible she chose a name to reflect the researcher she admires. I see. So is that why you chose that name? What? Well, the name of the researcher you look up to is Hifumi Takano, right? And your name is Mio. In Japanese, it's like you're counting upward. You're continuing the research he wasn't able to complete, so I thought maybe that's why you have that name. Told you that? No. I just thought of that now. I didn't hear it from anybody. You're correct. I'm surprised you figured it out since you're so dense. I know you admire Dr. Takano, and sometimes you've spoken as if you were his daughter or granddaughter who inherited his research legitimately. That's why I said that. Even authors like Ranpo Edogawa use their pen names as homages towards authors they admired as well. She's so rude to him? I know, but he's so down bad. So I thought maybe the name you use is like your pen name, you know? No, that's not so. Mio Takano is my real name. You write my family name differently, though. Then it really is the exact same family name as Dr. Takano? That's even more of a surprise. And Mio's your real name too. Mio Takano continuing Hifumi Takano's life's work. What a fateful coincidence. You're overstating it, Jiro-san. This isn't fate of any kind. He's my grandfather. What? This is news to me. I heard Takano-san discovered documents about the Hinamizawa syndrome left by Dr. Takano after his death and decided to continue his research. I've never heard of them being related before. Someone told me it'd leave a bad impression if I asked for money to continue my grandfather's research. Then people may think I'm trying to pull funds for a family matter. That's why I changed one of the characters in my last name. So other than Uncle Koizumi, you're the first person I've told this to. I see. I didn't know. So that's why you're so passionate about all this. I understand very clearly now. She really did inherit the work her grandfather was unable to complete. My grandfather researched Hinamizawa syndrome, not only from a medical point of view, but through old documents and literature as well. Looking through the old stories of a village that's been living with the syndrome for hundreds of years can be far more valuable than looking through microscopes that magnify things hundreds of times. My grandfather taught me that. I see. I'm sure your grandfather's happy that you're finishing the work he couldn't. I bet he's really proud of you. I hope so. I said something Takano-san would normally tease me about, but she didn't. She nodded and smiled. You're still in France? That's okay, Kimono. Thank you so much for dropping by. I hope your trip is going well. Enjoy France. Can guarantee he's not proud of you. Absolutely not. Not at all. Grandfather probably looking down like, huh? That's not what I wanted. My grandfather is Hifumi, which means 1, 2, 3. And I'm Mio, which means 3, 4. Following after my grandfather, we've only counted the 3 together, and counted the 4 after my grandfather. We must reach the 5 that neither me nor my grandfather has seen yet. That is my duty and the reason I was born. I ate a baguette. Nice. How was it? Is it different from other baguettes you've had? So that's why your name is Mio, huh? I think that's a beautiful name. Thank you. But please keep the granddaughter issue to yourself. My clients don't even know, and I don't want any unnecessary problems from them finding out about it. Sure, okay. This is a secret between you and me, huh? Although it's only a small secret, it feels good to think that I'm the only one who knows about it. Did you do the Ratatouille bread crunch thing? I've only counted to 3. I haven't even reached 4 yet. The path before me is long and rough, but I'll do it. I'll expose the secrets of Hinamizawa syndrome. I'll support you. That's my job in the first place, isn't it? Geez, you'd sound pretty cool if you didn't tack on things like that. You only needed to say that you'll support me, you know. Okay, I'll support you. It's too late. You're not cool if you can't get it right the first time. We laughed cheerfully together, and after we finished laughing, she became serious again, and spoke as if to drive the point home. So remember, Jiro-san, don't tell anybody that I'm his granddaughter, okay? Okay, I promise. It's not a bad thing, but I don't want the clients to cut our funding because of that. I don't think they will. Besides, I won't tell a soul. Are you sure? Are you really, really sure? This research is the entire purpose of my life. My mission is to complete my grandfather's work. To prove that his trampled research is actually something amazing that'll shock the world, and to make everyone praise my grandfather who's perishing away under the earth, eventually having him ascend as a god. That is the meaning and purpose of my life. Jiro-san, if you say something that creates problems for my research... Don't worry, I'll forget everything you told me here. Really, I mean it. I won't say anything. I promise. I won't say anything. Are you sure, Jiro-san? I sensed something frightening within her for a moment. Afraid that she would end up possessed by it, I swore to keep the promise. Takano's 100% staring at Tommy. Yeah, the bald stare. Amazing. Very intimidating. Did that in shops for a while after seeing the movie on release? That's amazing. Does it make it taste better? Her intellectual curiosity as a researcher and her conviction to complete her grandfather's work are what stirs her passion for researching Hinamizawa syndrome. It was from a bakery fresh, so I had faith in the bread. Very nice. Fresh bread is the best. It's so good. I think there's one more reason, but it's far too deep, and it's within a wound in her heart that someone like me should never touch. But earlier, she said, if you create problems for my research... Wonder what she wanted to say after that. Can't help thinking that she wanted to say something terrifyingly merciless. I kept my promise with her, and we never talked about the issue again after that. Why are you letting her step all over you like that, Tomitake? Ah! Sounds nice. A real ASMR move. That makes sense. Okay, let's see. We have his promise now, and we have, I think, the emergency manual, but I don't know if we have wine. Maybe? Oh, we do. Okay. It happened so suddenly. Uncle Koizumi passed away. I never heard he was ill or wasn't feeling well. Thank you for the head pat. Is it working? Okay, yes, it is. Perfect. His chest started to hurt suddenly and he couldn't sleep. He called an ambulance for the first time in his life because he didn't think he could endure the pain. He was taken into emergency care, but he didn't live to see morning. It was an acute myocardial infarction? Is that supposed to be an infection, or is this the word that I do not know? But maybe it was the best possible way to go. Instead of being in bed for many years, slowly dilapidating and withering away, he was healthy until his death, so I think he must have lived a wonderful life. But still, it was too sudden. I wish I had called him Uncle more. It's a real word? Wait, really? That's crazy. It's too late, though. Uncle Koizumi would never smile at me again with his wrinkly old face, no matter how many times I called for him. He was my guardian until now. He always looked after me, making sure my efforts received proper recognition. Obstruction of the blood supply to an organ or region of tissue. Typically by... I don't know those words either. Huh, interesting. You learn something new every day. Maybe he only did that because he couldn't help my grandfather when he was alive. But still, he was an important person to me. He wasn't just my political backing. But I didn't realize that when he was alive. I only thought of using his power for my own agenda. But after he died, I realized Uncle Koizumi was my grandpa too. He provided the warmth and protection that I longed for from my own grandfather. At his funeral, I shed tears that I thought I had forgotten how to. Uncle, thank you for everything. I should have called you Uncle more, huh? No matter how many times I called to him, he would never reply. What can I do for him at this point? What I could do for him at this point is complete my research. I must accomplish my goal for his sake. When my grandfather's research is finally acknowledged, Uncle Koizumi's name will be known once again for being the sole supporter of his endeavor. I believe that is the best way to repay him for everything he has done. I vow to devote myself to my work even more from this day on. But, unfortunately, hardships and sadness tend to come together. It was like the tailwind that blew steadily until today suddenly became a headwind. The winds shifted far too suddenly. So strong, so cold, so sad. What? What are you talking about, Jiro-san? Well, you know that Koizumi-sensei was the main political sponsor for the Iria Institute, right? He had trouble getting approval from the related agencies, but Koizumi-sensei used his political weight to force it through. After all, he was one of the key figures in the post-war restoration, accomplishing tremendous deeds in the medical industry. He held a huge influence in politics and industry. So now that Koizumi-sensei is gone, the way he did things won't work any longer? So far, it's only a rumor, so I don't know for sure, but I heard they're going to reconsider the budget allocated for the project. Are you saying that the Iria Institute will be closed down? No, I haven't heard anything about them reconsidering the institute. But since Koizumi-sensei's death, the rumors say that there's a great deal of confusion among the old guard and their factions, as well as the civil strife within the party around finding his successor. It seems the opposing factions are gaining influence in the human resources of our client. So they may begin to dig deep into the holy treasure chest that the Koizumi faction held to fund their project. Of course, this is all too complicated for me to explain that well, and besides, these might just be rumors. Jiro-san kept saying these were rumors, but that told me the wind's direction had changed. Or maybe Jiro-san already knows everything and is simply trying to warn me about it. And then, at our next routine audit, Jiro-san made it clear with his own mouth. High-ranking government officials who had never came here before attended the routine audit along with Jiro-san. Just by seeing those faces, I can tell the turning point is approaching.
As you know, the Alphabet Project was created to strengthen post-war Japan's presence in the world with a view of developing deterrent weaponry. However, the 21st century is now just around the corner. In this day and age, we must put the past behind us and start looking forward to a new world.
He meant exactly what he said. Japan has already put the past behind, and it's cutting off its ties to the ghosts that wish to resurrect the militaristic might of the pre-war era.
It's been 40 years since the end of the war, and we've contributed to the world in various peaceful ways. We have a strong alliance with the United States, and our nation has established its position in world affairs well enough. We've kept our promise to forever renounce war and nuclear weapons, and we are known as a nation of peace. In this coming century, our presence and influence will grow even larger.
The Alphabet Project, the main sponsor of the Idia Institute, are a group of people who want to develop a weapon that would act as a deterrent to the nuclear weapons which Japan is forbidden to own. So they've come to the Idia Institute, one of its branch organizations, to tell us Japan has now renounced nuclear arms. So the Idia Institute will be facing a strong, cold headwind from now on. The roll of the die that came up with a 1 on that stormy day has reappeared. I won't let the result of a die affect me. The power of my will won't be beaten by some god's roll of the dice.
Therefore, we're going to restructure the Alphabet Project to one that is more suitable for this day and age. This new Alphabet Project will be tasked with figuring out the basic way for this country to achieve a larger presence in world affairs, not through militaristic means, but through peaceful measures like international trade and economic development.
All of the people who hold tremendous influence in the politics and economy of Japan were born before the war, so naturally they wanted to regain the glory of pre-war Japan. The very idea that we can win next time if we research a new bomb that defeated us is itself a specter of the war. No, everyone already realized that. It was just that no one could speak out against the grandstanding elders they owe their gratitude towards. Soon the old will wither away and the new generation will take control. Uncle Koizumi was, in a way, the last remaining pillar for the old generation. His death is a chance for the new generation to step in. The things they couldn't argue openly are now being discussed. They've pointed out that from the beginning, the Alphabet Project was created for the personal satisfaction of a small group of people, and it sucked money out of the treasury. And so, the new generation of politicians have taken over from the old.
Therefore, everything the Alphabet Project was sponsoring will have to be re-reviewed. Of course, the Idia Institute is one of those subsidiaries. We hope that you'll understand and respond amicably.
I understand. We can't do research without our sponsors, after all. We'll give you our full cooperation. Idia responded appropriately, but he's obviously bewildered. The best equipment and staff are being provided to the Idia Institute. In other words, our research requires a huge amount of money. For those with no interest in Hinamizawa syndrome, they probably won't be able to understand why that much money is being put into the research of disgusting parasites. If they're simply going to revise our budget, that would be fine. We're receiving more than enough money. That would naturally be adjusted. It hurts, but we can endure. That's what I thought. But if just enduring it was enough, it wouldn't be a 1 on the die. So even in that sense, this is definitely a roll of a die coming up as 1.
Anyway, the new board of directors was inaugurated back in April, and they've outlined their new policies for all projects. For more details, please look through the papers I'll be handing out.
His papers were then passed around. He started to go over the details, but I read through quickly so I could learn about their stupid decisions first.
The Idia Institute has made great headway in uncovering the mystery of the Hinamizawa syndrome, as well as creating a cure for the disease. The board of directors is extremely pleased. We recognize this is due to the unceasing efforts of Director Idia and all the staff of the Idia Institute.
I've learned the French love saying they don't lack self-confidence, which is good. Huh. Interesting. Thank you. Even while he received their congratulations, a tense atmosphere surrounded me and Irie.
It's customary to start the conversation in the opposite way you're planning to take it before delving into your main point to convey. If the main issue is something good, then start with something bad, or vice versa.
The EDA Institute has two main intentions. One was to study the disease and hopefully find a cure. The other was to research the possibility of utilizing the disease for military applications. The new board of directors has decided to put a stop to the latter immediately. In this day and age, researching biological weapons is an Achilles heel for Japan. The EDA Institute must cease all related research and destroy any results.
I understand. I will comply. Idia replied with that immediately. Idia was assertive about finding a cure, but he was never even remotely interested in researching the disease's use for military purposes. So I'm sure he has no qualms about concurring with such demands. But I don't agree.
Also, a child stared daggers at me today, and then my group got turned away from a cafe, possibly because we were English. The rivalry's strong. Really? That's crazy.
Because our research will be more limited if we're just trying to find a cure. To me, finding that cure is simply a byproduct of my larger goal of discovering everything about the syndrome.
Also, regarding the EDA institution, we've decided to have you wrap up your work within the next 3 years. Your budget will decrease gradually as well.
Wait, please! We've only recently figured out anything about the syndrome, and there's more we have to learn in order to create a better cure. We're making progress, but I can't guarantee we'll come up with a complete cure within 3 years.
It's the understanding of the board that the EDA Institute has already completed enough research to develop a cure. The EDA Institute has already completed the C117 vaccine, and has a great deal of clinical data.
No, it's not even close to being completed. It's still only a prototype, and we're far from being able to see a cure for all the villagers.
The cafe was at best half full, but we got turned away. At least it was known. It was an old town Huh! How rude.
Waiting the end of our research at this stage can only be described as absolutely positively reckless. I'm surprised that EDA objected. Thanks to him, I didn't have to say anything. But if EDA hadn't objected, I'm sure I would have shrieked in protest.
In other words, the EDA Institute is not yet capable of curing all the people who are infected, or to fully eradicate the syndrome. Is that correct?
Yes, of course. Curing all the villagers and eradicating the syndrome will be possible in the future, and that's our ultimate goal. But I need more time, and of course, funding to do that. Our job is to investigate, find a practice that works, and establish it as a product. This isn't a job where you can follow a blueprint to create something with certainty in a set time frame, so we hope that you'll avoid following that misconception. I guess Idia speaks out when he needs to, and what he's saying is absolutely right. Research isn't something guaranteed to produce results with money and time. But I disagree with some of the things he said. He's objecting about the time and money, but he's basically agreeing to limit our research only towards finding a cure for Hinamizawa syndrome. That won't do. We won't unravel any mysteries that way. At that rate, the discovery of the Hinamizawa syndrome won't be recognized as my grandfather's great achievement.
What did the English ever do to oof? But I feel like you shouldn't treat a group of people that way just because of something that happened in the past with the same, people group. It's messed up. I see. I think I see your point. Our main purpose here is to dispose of the fact that this research was conducted for military purposes. So we must forever hide the fact that research was conducted on the strange disease called Hinamizawa syndrome, as well as hide its existence. If you can eradicate the disease without anyone ever learning about it, then we will give you the time and funding you require. But we'll discuss more about that later. Is that acceptable?
Yes, I have no problem with that.
Then please submit a plan and a budget proposal for eradicating the syndrome in secrecy. We'll do our best on our part to approve your proposal.
Thank you. I'll work on it immediately.
Please don't misunderstand that it's our intention to halt the research immediately. We want to see the best possible outcome for your work. Please understand that.
Yes, of course. I understand. While I was listening to their conversation, I was struck dumbfounded with something they said. Eradicating the syndrome in secrecy. In other words, it should be as though Hinamizawa syndrome never existed.
Stares at modern-day Europe. Yeah, the struggle is real. It's not just there, it's everywhere.
So my grandfather's name will never be revered by anyone. The sound of rustling papers and hushed proceedings filled the meeting room, but I only heard the ticking clock as I clutched my sweating palms.
So Takano's like, if they're not gonna let me make the research public, I'm just gonna murder everyone? Is that what she's saying? Because that is crazy. Gosh, okay, we have both of these.
Maybe we should wrap up for now. I don't think you're in the mood today. That's not true. Sorry if I gave you that impression. Takano-san has been looking through the viewfinder, but I haven't seen her push the shutter at all. While she came along, I don't think she's in the mood for bird watching. Takano-san has been depressed ever since the announcement of the new policies at the board meeting the other day. That's understandable. The Iria Institute was created by her in the first place.
Hope you're good. I realized I didn't ask how rude of me. Oh no, it's fine. I am doing good. I'm actually home alone for the weekend. Because my family went to a church retreat, and I am home watching the rabbits. So yeah. Which means I could potentially stream longer today if my voice doesn't feel like dying. We will see. I don't think she's in the mood for you, Tomitake. Yeah, for real. She doesn't want you.
Never did, never will. That's understandable. The Iria Institute was created by her in the first place. It was created so that she could devote her life to researching Hinamizawa syndrome. For all that to be tossed aside while being asked to wrap up work within a few years. Of course she's depressed.
Hydrate unlike me last night, then you can make it. Yeah, I have water with me.
Besides, she can't even fully spend the rest of the time left on the research. Their funding was being cut in stages, and by the end, they'll barely be able to finish closing up, let alone research anything. I heard that she's the granddaughter of the late Dr. Takano. Her determination to finish her grandfather's research is what kept her going until today. Since everything has been going so smoothly until recently, this sudden change in the wind's direction must have been a total shock. The shift in people pulling the strings must be pretty serious. The board of directors was completely changed out, and she heard that people and projects influenced by the Koizumi faction were being restructured to set an example. The wind's new direction seemed likely to remain for a long time. It's highly unlikely that the Koizumi faction would come back into power, so no matter what we say, it's almost impossible to expect the same kind of support from them. Isn't there something we could do? Takano-san muttered. Unfortunately, there isn't. There's nothing anybody can do. At first, the board talked about halting the research immediately, but after lots of convincing, they finally agreed to make it a gradual suspension over a few years. The people who helped us when the Iria Institute was first created are the ones who managed that. I see. Well, it looked like the worst-case scenario. It's actually someone else's hard-earned victory, huh? 3 years was the best they could do. I tried too, you know. I used your data to try and explain to the board how important this research is. Only 3 more years, huh? Maybe Takano-san doesn't understand how hard I tried to convince them. Because what she just said tells me the length of time left really doesn't matter to her. The important thing is that her research is being stopped. The fact is that I couldn't meet her expectations and made her feel disappointed. As a man, it kind of hurts. The best I can do at this point is route as much funding as possible towards the research so that you can work to your heart's content for the few years we have left. Sorry, I can't do anything else. That's okay. If that's the best you can do, then I'm very happy. Her words hurt me. I wish she'd chosen different ones, but I think that would be asking too much from someone so heartbroken.
Oh, have a nice dinner, Kimono. Thank you for dropping by. I appreciate it.
I must be understanding of her pain at a time like this. Besides, I know how close she was to the deceased Koizumi-sensei. She even called him uncle. To her, his death is not just the start of a coup or change in direction. She lost a person who was always looking after her. No matter how hard she pushed herself to act villainous, she wasn't supposed to be a part of this world. She was just an ordinary woman. She was intrigued by Hinamizawa syndrome, and she had to find help from someone who had more power than her to be able to continue research on it. The dark side of the world she should never have gotten involved in, extended its hands out to her. She was left all by herself in that world, and she's still trying to put on a brave face. I'm sure Takano-san thinks I'm unreliable. Realistically, I'm not the kind of person who can meet her expectations, nor do I have the power to. I wouldn't call her normal, same. She's been through a little too much for her to be normal. But I mean, is anyone in this series actually normal? The least I can do for her is stay sincere and remain her ally until the very end. Since she had so much room to act, it's harder for her to determine what actions to take when she's cornered. I wanted to believe she wouldn't, but I'm concerned that she might do something drastic eventually. Hope I could be of help to her in that very final moment before she makes her move. But I can't even gain enough trust from her to do that. How pitiful and pathetic. Of course, part of it is, as a man, I want her to rely on me. But that's not really it. She's been abandoned in this world and is all alone, so someone has to be her ally. And if I'm the only one who knows about that, then being her ally is my job. I know her too well, so I know she'll never ask for help. Even if she says it's unnecessary, someone has to be with her. I know that. I don't really think I'm suited for that job. I'm sure that there are many reliable people out there who are more appropriate for the position than me. But I can't let her be alone until that person appears. Takano-san, I know I'm pathetic and unreliable. What's this all of a sudden? What is it, Jiro-san? But I think I could be of help to you, so... Thank you, but I don't believe that talking to people helps you feel better. Sorry. Though I'm happy to hear that you're concerned. I really am. Okay, that's fine. I'll always be on your side. Please believe that, okay? Of course I will. If you think of a good idea to convince the board, please let me know, okay? Sure. I'll do my best. Why is it? I know she's such a strong person, and there's nothing someone like me can do for her. But somehow, I feel she needs help and support right now. She doesn't believe in talk therapy. Yeah, she really doesn't. She just wants money. She wants funding. She wants time. She doesn't need a man to talk to. She looks as tough as ever, but only I, who had been taking pictures of her all this time, can tell. A viewfinder, after all, is also a window to look into someone's heart. But if I say something like that, she'll tease me again, so I won't. Anyway, never thought she needed support more strongly than I do right now. So you're going to help her commit mass murder? I don't know if I like that thought process, Tomitake. Hey, Nakagawa-kun. Long time no see. He's not the smartest, absolutely not. Still at it lately? You know, that. No, not at all. It's no fun getting old. You've got to concentrate when you work with clay. If you put it off for a long time, your senses get dull and there's no point. Sensei, allow me to introduce someone. This is Major Takano. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. I truly appreciate it. Ah, I really didn't make time for you, actually. I was told that I could have some good raw sea urchins. Sea urchins are good for you, did you know? Rich in vitamin A, and they're good for your skin. Women like sea urchins, right? It's true that sea urchins are rich in vitamin A, but compared to spinach, it's not anything that's worth making a fuss about. Well, none of that matters right now. He just seemed like an unpleasant man, so I wanted to criticize him. These men are the directors of the Alphabet Project, who control the funding for the Idia Institute. They're also people who are in the position of being able to offer their opinions to those directors. To put it in a simpler way, they are the new owners of the Idia Institute. Although not as much as Uncle Koizumi was, they're also leaders and influencers in various fields. I have to be very careful not to upset them. and therefore there is no way I would have had the ability to call them in. By using the influence that the Koizumi faction once had, I finally managed to get this chance. Uncle Koizumi, who gave me his full support and made everything go my way, is not here anymore. I'm on my own from this point on, and I will open up a path. But this stage just doesn't belong to me today. I can't let the people who offered me this chance lose face, so I have to wait patiently until it's my turn. My primary objective today is to explain what a prominent research subject the Hinamizawa syndrome is, and acquire an indefinite extension for our research. They only ever talk about money, so they aren't even realizing the hidden potential of Hinamizawa syndrome. They don't recognize that it's worth spending a lot of money on. This is not mere research on the existence of an unknown parasite, but something that may overthrow the basic foundations of anthropology. A Nobel Prize wouldn't even be enough. It wouldn't be easy trying to explain all that to men who knew nothing about any of it, but I have to. That's why I spent many hours making these straightforward support documents. Sometimes, we make documents confusing on purpose because we don't like dealing with uneducated people, but this time it's different. I can't look down on them. I must sincerely try to make them understand. The accessible support documents are there in a huge pile. It feels like we're wasting time eating traditional Japanese food in such a relaxed mood. I want to get to the point and explain to them in detail so they can understand. But there is the saying, luck lies in the last helping. I have to be patient right now.
To be frank, I thought the alphabet project we've seen wasn't that good. In the end, it's been nothing but a sandbox for the old men with their heads still stuck in the Pacific War. Nothing but a sandbox for those old men to craft their dreams of Imperial Japan's revival with money that isn't theirs. Do you know how much public funding was wasted on those delusions? From what I've heard, there are already prosecutors poking people like Okuno-sensei and trying to pin embezzlement on the old board of directors. That's what you get for trying to suck up to those old men. Of course, none of it can be made public, so I guess they'll be held responsible or demoted in another form. This is what the country gets for letting those ghosts of the war run around freely all this time. Boy, these grilled sea urchins are fantastic. Well, this is harsh. I realize it's extremely difficult to ask this of you when you all feel that way, but might I have a moment of your time? You're from the Idia Institute, aren't you? You're researching some kind of local disease in Takano or Gifu, right? What's going on down there? The board has decided to halt the research for military applications. The research project itself is to wrap up within 3 years as well. Oh, no. Sorry, that's still being discussed. Anyhow, our work is scheduled to be shut down within a few years. Ah, yes. I remember now. The Idia Institute has a bad reputation even among the old board of directors. After all, it sucked up huge funds with barely any inspections. I don't know why, but someone high up kept pushing for it for some reason. Because of that, nobody could really say anything about it and it was left alone. But you know, that guy loved to flirt around with women, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Is he implying that I slept with Uncle Koizumi? He's insulting both of us. But I held my anger in. I can't let myself be bothered by something like this. Anyway, today I would like to explain to you the details of our Institute's research and ask you to reconsider your decision. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend this meeting today.
Well, I guess they don't give out free sea urchins for nothing, huh?
I explained to them how much the Hinamizawa syndrome mattered while being very careful not to go too fast. I tried to let them know that the syndrome's potential is not limited to small things like military applications, but is much more meaningful than that. It may explain ideology and religion. It may even shake the very definition of a human being. I took my time to explain as slowly and clearly as possible. I'm not confident that all of it had gotten through to these boorish men, but I'm happy if they understood even just a part of it. As long as they understand how much of a magnificent discovery Hinamizawa syndrome really is.
Whoa, that was a voice crack. Thank you, Major. I see. We'd like to discuss among ourselves, so could you please excuse yourself?
Yes, thank you. Obviously they can't discuss in front of me. I left all the documents with them. All I could do now was hope they viewed them favorably. I left the room and closed the sliding door. The room next door is a preparation room, so I was to head there. But I stopped. I shouldn't have done it, but I tried to listen in through the sliding door.
Well, I don't know what to say. I feel sorry for everyone on the previous board of directors. I know how you feel. Koizumi-sensei pushed this so strongly. I met him once before, when he became founding director of XX Pharmaceuticals. He seemed like a very intelligent person to me. I guess you just can't win against age. Makes you realize how important it is for humans to know when to pull out. But it is a fact that this very rare disease, called Hinamizawa syndrome, really exists, so not everything is a delusion. I hear the EDA Institute has already succeeded in identifying the disease and developing a treatment. Isn't that enough? In modern Japan, we have to be careful with things that might make neighboring countries nervous, and military-related issues are the most sensitive ones. So at the very least, we must erase the fact that research for military purposes has been going on for the past few years immediately. Is that separate from simply discontinuing the military research then? Yes. Even if we stopped it immediately, the fact that this Hinamizawa syndrome was being researched in order to create a biological weapon remains. We should hide that fact no matter what purpose this research ends up being used for. If possible, it would be best if Hinamizawa syndrome just disappears. That's true. If the disease remains, then sooner or later someone will become curious about it and dig up the hole we filled. I think we should follow the decision of the board directors, and as soon as the EDA Institute eradicates this disease, we should have them destroy all evidence of their work before disbanding. I guess that's for the best. It's not even a matter of a Nobel Prize. It's just useless for post-war Japan. Besides, this disease has existed for hundreds of years, right? And we've made it this far without any problems. From the start, I thought this amounted to little more than just poking around in the bushes. Me too. I don't doubt the existence of the syndrome, but Dr. Takano, who discovered the disease, is exaggerating more than a little. He had quite a unique interpretation of things. First of all, I've never heard of a parasite that's capable of controlling people's thoughts. It's just too much. If we tried to explain religions with this, then Buddha, Christ, all those people would be, what was it again? Queen carriers? If we tried exposing something like this, we'd be attacked by every nation on the planet. Religion is pretty scary nowadays. There are parasites that live in animal brains, and I guess we could say there are parasites that live in human brains too. But for them to control human thoughts, that's a bit too unique, you know.
As I peeked in through a gap in the sliding door, I became trapped within an unbelievable sense of déjà vu. This is my first time experiencing this, but it doesn't feel that way. I don't know why, but the memory is so sad and so painful. Huh? Why, tears. Before I realized it, I saw a very nostalgic carpeted room on the other side of the sliding door instead of a room covered in tatami mats.
I hate that they make a good argument despite the proof. Yeah, it's one of those things where it could go both ways.
The room is filled with the smell of dust mixed in with the smell of some evaporated medicine, but it's very soothing to me just the same. And there is my grandfather. His article that he poured his heart into was made a mockery of, yet he wasn't even allowed to cry. This isn't a delusion, because within the documents I left with those men, there are a lot of references to the article my grandfather wrote. So I'm not surprised for my grandfather to be standing right there, explaining it to them himself. Together with my tears from seeing the sight of my beloved grandfather, I watched these men insult and belittle his masterpiece. I've seen this sight before, and the sight should have ended there. But why is it repeating before my eyes? I can only blankly peek through the sliding door at this strange world where reality and illusion overlap.
The Major's a little strange, and Koizumi-sensei, who believed in something as ridiculous as this, is a little strange too. But the strangest one of all is the person who wrote this article in the first place. It blends together the expectations and delusions, and looks more like fiction than a thesis. I think this will be a big hit once it gets published, you know. You're absolutely right. I have a friend who's the head of a publishing company. I bet he'll love this. This is not a laughing matter, gentlemen. A huge amount of money was poured into this over the past few years. The worst is that the equipment used to gas the villagers in case of an emergency have already been procured. Our people must never learn about this.
For such a plan to exist is scary enough, but if people find out about this equipment, the whole country will turn against us. On top of that, the cost to maintain this equipment is enormous. You don't really think it's being maintained, do you? Surely this whole project is some kind of money laundering scheme. What do they say, anyway? If one girl dies, the whole village will go crazy at once? What kind of comic book is this? Exactly. Someone actually believed such a childish theory and put a huge amount of money into it. Now that's crazy. What's truly ridiculous is that someone actually took these documents seriously.
As he said that, he placed the documents down with an exaggerated gesture. Actually, I should say he slammed them down, because the papers ended up scattered all over the floor.
You're too right. Excuse me. I need to use the bathroom.
One of the men stood up and stepped on the papers. And they weren't the papers on the tatami mats, but the ones on the carpet. Right there, I can see my grandfather filled with heart-rending sadness. Yet he can't let it show on his face. Grandfather's expression didn't change, yet it seemed distorted to me. I could see the walls of my grandfather's study crumbling and twisting behind him. I jumped into the room. I grabbed onto the man's legs. I don't hate him. No, it's not whether I hate him or not. Sure, I hate him, but that's not it. I just can't forgive the feet stepping on my grandfather's article. Don't! Don't step on them! My grandpa wrote these. Please don't step on them.
Oh, sorry.
Those feet are still stepping on the papers. I tried to make them move, but they won't even budge as though they've grown roots. So I begged as I grabbed onto his legs. I tried to pull the papers from under his feet, but I can't move his feet. I can't pull out the papers.
War flashbacks real.
Don't step on them. Don't step on them. My grandpa's. Don't step on them. My sobbing echoed in that silent room, just like it did back then.
I feel like I should feel bad for her, but then I remember that she literally murdered off an entire village, and I just, okay. What do we... Okay, wait, Satoshi Hojo's awareness of sins. I don't think we have that. We have Sea Urchin. First I did because of all her lore, now she's just insane, but also Parapsycho Burn, she isn't aware of it. Yeah, it's very complicated. Morals who? Exactly. Do we have this? Oh. Execution order for the 3rd year's curse. Oh, maybe it's this one. Yeah, okay. Who is this? Deep down, I was prepared for something to happen tonight once again. The 1st year, the workers were stirred into a frenzy, killing and dismembering the old man. And the 2nd year, the Hojo couple were killed through a fake accident. Since the dam protests, only people who've been hated by the villagers died on the day of Watanagashi. Some people in the village were calling the incidents the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Now that the dam protests were over, there would be no meaning in the village's enemies being killed on the night of the festival, I thought. If that was true, then there were still some enemies left over. I thought that perhaps that would happen again on the night of the festival 3 years in a row. My hunch was right. At first, however, it looked so natural that I didn't think anything of it. The festival was nearing its end, and the village officials were gathered under the main tent. They opened their beers and enjoyed the leftover corn and braised cow tripe from the refreshment stands. I was in the main tent too, being entertained by the villagers. So I was actually there at the scene of the 3rd year's incident when it happened. Yet I didn't notice anything at the beginning. Hey, Furude-san, what's the matter? Are you feeling sick? Most of the older folks in the village were heavy drinkers, but a few were lightweights too. The priest was one of the latter. The priest was a representative as well as a host during the Watanagashi festival.
So every time the visitors and guests arrived, he greeted them, and each time he was offered a drink. So by the night's end, he was pretty worn out. That's why I didn't think anything of it to see the priest sitting by himself in a folding chair. The mayor, Kimiyoshi, was the one to tap his shoulder and ask him if he was all right. Okay. You drank too much, didn't you? Huh? Does your chest hurt? Sorry. I think I'm a little tired. Ah, didn't you have heart trouble before? Getting sudden pains isn't a good sign. Dr. Irie! Dr. Irie! What's wrong? Is it your chest? That's not good. When I saw what was going on, I noticed he was covered in terrible sweat, and he was definitely not relaxing in his chair and enjoying the cool evening breeze. His face had a sickly pallor, and I thought he should lie down immediately. I should probably take you to the clinic. Are you okay? Can you hold on to my shoulder? Hey, somebody help! The priest doesn't feel well. What's wrong with my husband? Dear, are you all right? Takano-san. Perfect timing. The priest doesn't feel well, so I'm going to take him to the clinic. Could you please have the car come around here? Sure, no problem. The laugh? Hello? So the priest and his wife headed to the clinic with Dr. Irie. I don't know about young people, but the elderly know their own bodies well. They almost never push themselves to the point where they start feeling ill. Especially someone like the priest. It was hard to imagine him drinking himself sick. The cumulative experience of my years was telling me something. I headed to the Irie clinic just in case. Is this Oishi? I don't know who this is. I assume it is, though. I tried to follow their car, but because the festival was almost over and all the stands were closing up, there was a lot of traffic going in and out, making it almost impossible for me to leave the temporary parking lot. More than 20 minutes had passed since the priest was carried in by the time I arrived at the clinic. 20 minutes. If it hadn't taken me 20 minutes, my involvement in this year's incident would have been quite different. I regretted not leaving on foot the moment I realized how hard it was to get my car out. All I get to do now is jot down the facts. Because between the time the priest left the festival and the time I arrived at the clinic, during those 20 minutes, this year's curse had taken place. The priest's condition changed for the worse right after he arrived at the clinic. He died. The autopsy results say it was heart failure, but how can I accept that? I don't think the priest was having health problems, and everyone was taken by surprise by the sudden event. Moreover, the wife of the priest disappeared too. According to the clinic staff, she was with him right after he died, but she's nowhere to be seen now. Of course, she's not at home either. Maybe someone poisoned the priest. During the dam conflict, the priest was frowned upon for his remarks. He said that there was no need to make a big fuss because the dam project would be cancelled anyway. The older villagers liked to hold grudges and hadn't forgotten that, so even I had heard word of them talking about how the priest wasn't fit for the shrine to Oyashiro-sama. I called for backup and had them go search for the missing wife. With last year's fallen couple incident as a precedent, it was easy to believe both wife and husband could become victims. The village's youth group got organized and searched from the village to the mountains, and as a result, found a set of sandals and a will by the edge of Onikafuchi swamp. The will said something about how her husband's death was the curse of Oyashiro-sama, and she was throwing herself into the swamp to calm the god's anger. In other words, she committed suicide by jumping into the swamp. Legends say that the swamp is bottomless, and it connects directly to hell. Once you sink, you'll never come back. Divers from the police department searched the swamp, but her body was nowhere to be found. The past two mysterious incidents were solved individually, just as the higher-ups say, but something is odd about this year's mysterious death. The ill priest was carried to the clinic. His wife accompanied him. Within 20 minutes, the priest died of heart failure, and the wife either committed suicide or disappeared. The death of the priest may really have been a fatal heart attack, but for his wife to assume that it was the curse and to commit suicide by jumping into the swamp, for all of that to happen in 20 minutes just doesn't seem natural. The Furute family has no relatives. Even if she was a true believer in Oyashiro-sama, how could she commit suicide while leaving behind her one and only daughter? Irie is hiding something too, but he's just a village doctor, which means he's nothing more than their pawn. If this is all a conspiracy to assassinate the priest, then there is someone who's pulling the strings. I'd been starting to think the
trying to tie the past two incidents to the village so forcefully was a bit overbearing of me, but this incident was enough to convince me that this series of cases involving mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa were all grounded in one intention. This incident has countless numbers of discrepancies, but someone from the village seems to be putting pressure on high command. Just like the past incidents, this one will be treated as an individual case and end up being forgotten. Since it happened 3 years in a row, everyone in the village will say that it's the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I think that's the culprit's goal. After the war, belief in Oyashiro-sama became antiquated. Someone committing these murders as a ritual to restore that god's dignity. The one pulling the strings must be the Sonozaki family. Few months passed. Oryo Sonozaki said something like it was natural for that priest to be cursed by Oyashiro-sama, and so the priest's case was lumped together with the mysterious Hinamizawa deaths, otherwise known as Oyashiro-sama's curse. At first, I simply wanted to avenge the old man, but now that case has grown into an abnormal one centered on the village's faith. Dang it! The old man's killer is human. I won't let it be pushed off onto some nonsense curse. Okay. The Sonozakis are really just being used as a scapegoat, but they're doing it to themselves. Kinda crazy. But, I mean, pop off, I guess. Now we have this. A strange medicine that I can hardly remember was a capsule. Or maybe it was an oval tablet. It was so red. It must have been a capsule. I can't imagine a tablet in that color. It must have been a capsule. I think it was a little bigger than a normal one. I think. Can't remember. Although I can hardly remember, if I see that medicine again, it'll refresh my memory. That medicine strips away humanity. It takes away a human's soul, memory, emotion, and it numbs the human body. There are no thoughts, no interests, no will to stay awake or asleep. There is no sense of time. Sometimes, a second can feel like an eternity, and other times I can almost see the hour hand move. Either way, there's no emotion involved. I can't feel any emotion. The medicine only lets me stay in bed and look up at the ceiling. Only the people who have taken it can understand this misery. What's more scary is that while I'm on the medication, I don't realize how scary it is. I'm given the medication daily, and I keep losing all my senses. So when the medicine wore off by accident, I realized I should never take it again. That's right. This isn't medicine that will heal me. It's just going to kill me slowly. If I continued to take this medicine, I probably wouldn't be able to tell if I was dead or alive, and I would end up losing myself forever. I'll keep looking up at the ceiling without any emotions and keep watching the clock tick forever. If I take the medicine again, I'll lose all the senses I finally regained. I may never be able to bring myself back again. Since the day I realized that, I've been pretending to take the medicine, but throwing it away instead. If your doctor prescribes medication, you have to finish taking it, even if your symptoms are gone. I can hear my mother's voice. Anytime I went to the doctor's office when I was a child, my mother said that to me. I usually got well before I finished all the medicine, so I didn't finish taking the rest. That's why my mother said that. But this is a different type of medicine. I don't even remember how old I was when my mother said that. But with this strange capsule in front of me, I have to try and get rid of my mother's voice from inside my head. I pressed down on my head with my elbows until it hurt, trying to get rid of what my mother kept telling me. Right. As my head clears, I start to remember the ugly side of my mother. My mother betrayed her family. She betrayed me and my father, who waited for her at home with dinner on the table. She told us she was busy with work, but she was having an affair. That was bad enough, but she asked my father for a divorce after he took such good care of her for so many years. But there's something else I can't forgive her for. She invited only me to meet with her new family. Not my father, just me. My father and I are family. Family means being together. Yet my mother tried to destroy the bond between my father and me. Not only had she destroyed her bond with him,
She tried to destroy my bond with him too. When I remember, it makes me feel angry and hateful, and I can't forgive her. The back of my eyes start to hurt, and I can feel the hatred on my face. That overflowing animosity is aimed not only at my mother, but also at the man she had an affair with. The man she had an affair with. Uncle Akihito. I didn't like him teasing me, but he gave me an allowance and tried to have fun with me. I liked him very much, but his niceness was all calculated. He wanted to destroy the family bonds between my mother, my father, and me. That's why I shouldn't have said I liked him very much. That's right. I'm starting to remember and understand. I now know my true enemy. It was his fault that my mother started to have an affair. Because my mother was a very good mother. He was the one who made her a bad one. So he's the one who deserves the blame. When was the first time I met him? I think it was the time when my mother and I went out and had lunch at a restaurant. She introduced him as one of her colleagues from work. At that time, if I think about that first meeting, I think I felt something wasn't right with the way my mother acted around him. That's right, I did. I did think something was wrong. It didn't feel right. I wish I'd trusted my instincts then. I was a fool to think he was a nice person just because he gave me a strawberry from his piece of cake. It was not my father's fault, because I bet he never met Uncle Akihito. But I have. I met him many times, and there were lots of chances to realize he was my enemy. If I had a strong enough will to protect my happiness, I could have noticed that. I can't forget how my father looked on that day. My father, who was so nice and gentle, grabbed his knees so tightly and cried so hard. He asked me if I knew Uncle Akihito. I answered yes. Then he slapped me in the face. When he slapped me, I finally realized how stupid I was for being taken in by him. That's right. It was my fault. I destroyed the happiness I'd hoped to last forever with my own hands. If I hadn't been that stupid, my father wouldn't have had to cry like that, and my mother would have stayed good. If I wasn't that stupid, it's my fault. I can't forgive my mother and Uncle Akihito. Even when I hate him this much, I still call him Uncle, and I can't forgive myself for that. It was my fault. Everything was my fault. I was too stupid and foolish, and that's why this happened. I hate her. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. I can't stop being angry. If my mother ever came back to this house, I would rip her apart with my hands. But she never came back. My anger turned towards everything that my mother left in the house. I destroyed every relic my mother left behind, one after another. Oh, my is right. I threw and smashed everything, but that still didn't calm me down. Even after I turned the whole house upside down, I still couldn't calm my anger. Where does my anger gather? It starts from inside of me, goes through my arms to my fingertips, and spurts from my nails. Where else can it go? So my nails aim at my own body. My body is the filthiest, most disgusting thing of all. I'm the one to be blamed. No, I'm not to blame. My mother's most at fault. My mother's the most corrupt. My body and soul feel filthy. I wanted to stain myself black and slice the remaining flesh into pieces. And one day, I finally realized there are tons of maggots in my blood. I'm rotten. I'm rotten from the inside. Come on, rot more! But it's indescribably itchy. It's itchy, itchy, itchy. I stabbed my thigh with a razor blade in the bathroom. The blood flowed out. Reddish-black maggots spilled out. Who is this? It's Rena. It's Rena before she moved to Hinamizawa. I forced myself to open my blood vessels with my thumbs. The maggots spilled out. Squirm, 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 squirm. So many maggots spilled out from my left thigh. There are probably just as many in my right thigh. Maybe my calves, too. My arms, abdomen, chest. No. How many maggots are there in the blood vessels in my neck? Girl, no, for real. Strangely, Although I've become rather insane, there's still a part of me that's calm. If I keep ripping myself apart like this, I'll end up dead. But everything is my fault, and I'm the one to be blamed. Even if I blame my mother, the only way I could disgrace her is with my own body. Oh, I get it now. That's the best means for quelling my anger. I feel like I'm thinking incredibly rationally now. In order to forgive myself, I need someone else to take the blame. It has to be someone else's fault, but no such person exists. No matter how much I think about it, or how I twist the logic, my own body is my only outlet to vent this anger. So long as there's no one else to blame, I'll be forced to rip open every blood vessel in my body. Just like no matter how much I scratch, it still itches. No matter how much I rip apart my own body, it's not enough. The blood is all over the bathroom, and I'm sure it makes for quite the gruesome scene. Although I'm trying to stay calm, I can't ignore the sharp pain that runs through my body. Maybe because I've lost so much blood, or maybe because I'm naked in the bathroom, I feel freezing cold. My whole body is throbbing, and my heart is beating so fast. Man, this is a Wendy's. Not here, Rena. Not ever, actually. I'm cold and hot at the same time, and I'm also sad, angry, and in pain. I want to find something that lets me forgive myself. Then, it came. It came in a heavenly light. It was mysterious and unreal, like something out of this world. It apologized. It kept apologizing. Why is it apologizing? You apologize when you're at fault. So this thing I just met for the first time was admitting to wronging me. That means I'm not at fault. It's at fault, not me. I dropped the razor blade. It fell into the puddle of blood. The pain is taking over my body. The pain of ripping apart my own body is taking over me. I've been telling myself this pain is the punishment for what I've done. But I'm not at fault. It is. So I don't need to accept this pain as a punishment. So I don't need to defile my body anymore. She continued apologizing to me over and over as I stood there covered in fresh blood. She apologized every time I wanted to blame myself, constantly whispering that it wasn't my fault. Oyashiro-sama exists. She's always following me. Pit-pat, pit-pat. And every time I can't endure the guilt, she apologizes and tells me I'm not at fault. Everything is caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Things started to go wrong when I broke that rule that I wasn't supposed to leave Hinamizawa. I finally remember. When I moved from Hinamizawa, one of my neighbors gave me a charm. She said that if I left Hinamizawa, I'd be cursed, so I had to take the charm. That's right, she gave me a charm. It had some complicated writing on it, but I haven't seen it since I moved here. I may have lost it. There's nothing I can do about that. If Hinamizawa residents leave Hinamizawa, they'll be cursed. My mother and I, even Uncle Akihito too, may have gone insane because of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Nobody was at fault from the beginning, because everything is caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Nobody's at fault. Nobody! I'm finally able to forgive everything. The anger that I couldn't get rid of even after I destroyed everything, including my body and soul, is finally gone. Father, now I know. The curse of Oyashiro-sama is what caused my mother to leave, and for you to be so sad. You remember Oyashiro-sama, don't you? The guardian deity of Hinamizawa. That's right. People of Hinamizawa aren't supposed to go to the outside world. That's why Mother went insane. It's all because of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. If we had stayed in Hinamizawa, we would have been happy. Oyashiro-sama could have came to me and told me that. Come to think of it, Oyashiro-sama's been trying to tell me that for a long time. After Mother left, I didn't know why she left or how to express my anger.
She is coping really hard.
Oyashiro-sama has kept following me ever since then to let me know that. She followed me everywhere, the sound of her footsteps echoing behind me. But I pretended I didn't notice her. I was so stupid. I didn't hear her voice until I slashed my body all over. If only I'd listened to Oyashiro-sama's voice. I bet she started warning me once Uncle Akihito came into my life. If the whole family had gone back to Hinamizawa, my mother wouldn't have had an affair. We would have been happy there. I bet Oyashiro-sama's been trying to tell me that. That's right, she must have been trying to warn me ever since we left Hinamizawa. She's always with me. She followed me everywhere. I was stupid, trying to pretend I didn't notice. Everything was because of that stupidity. If I had noticed Oyashiro-sama's voice, my family wouldn't have suffered from the curse. It's all my fault. Oyashiro-sama is apologizing. She keeps apologizing, which means this is all her fault. So this isn't my fault, is it? Because this is the curse of Oyashiro-sama, right? She's apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Oyashiro-sama is apologizing repeatedly. So I'm sorry too. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't hear your voice. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We're from Hinamizawa, so we have to keep hearing your voice. Oyashiro-sama definitely exists, 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 exists. Can't you hear, Father? Don't you see? Oyashiro-sama's right there apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. Come on, Father. Let's apologize too. Mother, you don't have to apologize. You should die because of the curse. I hate you, Mother. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate myself for being your daughter. These maggots are your fault. They make me itch everywhere. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, no, I don't want that medicine. My mother got it to kill me, so I don't want it. I won't take it. I told you I won't take it. Stop. Stop. This is a curse, so you can't fix it with medicine. It won't get rid of the maggots because this is a curse. No, I don't want a shot either. Stop. Stop. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Everything is falling into a gray world. The voices of my father and the doctor sound so far away. Even what just happened seemed like it happened a long time ago. Again, I'm given the capsule, and even my memory from a minute ago is gone. I'm back in my bed, staring at the ceiling. In what I can see, the only thing that interests me is the hands on the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I follow the minute hand as it goes around quickly, and the hour hand as it goes around slowly. I see other things too, but they keep going through the same motions just like the hands on the clock. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's my fault. Sorry. Oyashiro-sama keeps apologizing. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Sorry. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Sorry. I'm sorry. Repeating over and over, constantly, and nothing else. The chorus of Higurashi coming in through the window during the night seems louder than usual. Well, that was something. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my is right. Rena Ryugu. Hello. Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Oh, who are you? Sorry. A lot more in depth than what she told us. I know, it's crazy. We just moved in next door. We're here to introduce ourselves. Pleased to meet you. Oh my. Someone as young as you moved here? I see. Welcome. Mom, our new neighbor is here to say hello. Don't yell like that. Thank you for taking the time to come over. They're the Ryugu family. They just moved into the empty house next door. Ah, you're Rena-chan, aren't you? My, how you've grown. Yes, I'm Rena. Thank you for remembering. Oh. Mom, do you know her? Of course I do.
You were living in Okinomiya then, so you probably don't remember. But they used to live next door. So you came back, huh? This village is better than the big city, is it? I don't remember much because I was so small when we lived here, but I feel like this is where I belong. Then you'll fit right.
Oh, then you'll fit right in. If there's anything we could do for you, let us know. There's no need to hesitate. Being unreserved is the rule here after all.
Yes! Thank you very much!
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Rena in so long, I don't remember how to do her voice.
I thought I'd remember things if I walked around the village, but I still don't remember much. I do recall, however, the vivid breeze, as well as the brilliant greenery. I don't remember the village, but I remember that this is my hometown. Red scars still remain on my body. They're hardly visible, and I can't even feel them. I'm sure they'll disappear soon. Now that I'm back in Hinamizawa, sometimes I wonder who I was back in Ibaraki. In fact, I think I wasn't myself from the moment I left. And now, by coming back here, I finally regained my true self. I can hardly remember what I was like back in Ibaraki. Well, that's probably because of the red medicine. The medicine erased all my painful memories. Maybe that was for the best. I just wanted to be forgiven back then. I couldn't forgive my mother. I couldn't forgive Uncle Akihito. And more than anybody, I couldn't forgive myself. I wanted someone to acknowledge that I wasn't at fault. I wanted to be forgiven. So Oyashiro-sama apologized. She told me that I wasn't at fault because it was the curse of Oyashiro-sama. That's how I was able to forgive myself. I didn't have to die by tearing my blood vessels out of my body. I think people have to die because they become corrupted. That's why people try their hardest not to dirty themselves all their lives. But I'm still living despite how dirty I am. I've been allowed to live. Is there still some filth left on me? Or am I all clean? I don't know. The only thing I know is that the me who lived at Ibaraki and the me who's here right now are two different people. I no longer feel the need to take responsibility by ripping myself apart because of the filth.
Oh, what a take, yeah. Very interesting.
After arranging some furniture and unpacking some boxes, we finally had dinner. Although I hardly remember Hinamizawa, my father remembers things very clearly.
Though it was around when we lived here before, the Watanagashi festival has grown huge these days. It's held at the end of June.
Watanagashi?
I've never seen it myself, so I don't know too much about it, but supposedly people let cotton absorb the filth on their bodies and drift it down the stream.
Absorb the filth? You can wash your filth down the stream, huh?
Of course. Humans are sinners. As we live every day, filth piles up on our bodies, supposedly. Once a year, we get rid of the filth by letting the cotton absorb it.
People become burdened with filth and sin by doing something bad. Court sentences can settle your crimes legally, but that doesn't mean the burden of sin, of the filth, will just go away. In other words, human hands can't erase human filth in this human world. The filth is something humans can't get rid of, and that's why we need a god from a different world to do that. That's what I thought. But I'm surprised to learn about Watanagashi. Human hands erasing human filth in the human world. Letting the cotton absorb the filth and drifting it down the stream. That means it's okay to live in this world. I tried to commit suicide because I couldn't forgive myself. Oyashiro-sama apologized to me and told me to come back to Hinamizawa. And now, here in Hinamizawa, there's this Watanagashi, a ceremony to get rid of filth. This isn't just a coincidence. Hinamizawa is a place to wash away your filth. It forgives sins. It's a place of forgiveness.
It's called a purification ceremony.
I've heard of those before.
Japanese culture is very strict about filth. You aren't allowed to remain in the spotlight if you accumulate too much. See, that's the reason why politicians and company presidents resign immediately once people find out about their dirty deeds. You must leave the spotlight if you're filthy. Put it in a bad way, the filth is basically pushed onto someone else, and they are held responsible for it.
Sins and filth must be removed. That's why people push them onto someone else, and then try to get rid of the filth by sacrificing that person. But if that's the case, every time that filth is created, people will try to pass around responsibility for it. That's awfully hideous. It's almost like seeing demons in the human world. That's why they came up with the idea of letting the cotton absorb all the filth. By doing so, people can live without making someone else take on the responsibility, sins, and filth. Putting everyone's sins onto someone and killing that person makes that person a sacrifice. Who wants to be a sacrifice? That's why they desperately push their sins around. A purification ceremony is about replacing the human sacrifice with a non-human one. The purification ceremony dramatically changed Japanese culture. Before then, people always believed that someone had to become a sacrifice. In other words, even with filth, everyone can live without blaming someone else. Filth can be forgiven by a method other than death. Only an existence higher than humans can forgive them. I was forgiven by Oyashiro-sama and came back to this place. The Watanagashi, the purification ceremony that exists here. Letting cotton absorb the filth and drifting it away. There's no need for a sacrifice. That's why I've been allowed to live. The filthy me has drifted away, so the me that remains is no longer Rena Ryugu. If I'm not Rena, then who am I? If I'm without filth, without all the icky things, who am I? A name vaguely appeared in my head. My new name, that only removes one of the letters from Rena, but I think it's a cute name. All the icky things are erased and forgiven with the removal of that one letter. So my name is no longer Rena. My name is...
Absolutely insane. My gosh. Her name is Higurashi, true. Okay, I think we're gonna end Higurashi here, because my voice is, perishing.